Hey Scavers, this is Imp from Black Talon Gaming, and I want to welcome you to another episode of Best Settlement Defense and Builds. Today, I'm on my second playthrough with Wolf, and I'm going to show you what I've done with Red Rocket Settlement here in this playthrough. If you've watched my other playthrough with the one that I'm using primarily for Surviving the Wasteland, you know I turned Red Rocket into a large fortress, and it seems all my characters are relatively similar. Anyhow, Red Rocket, just as in the previous game, is a large fortress. This time I prefer to refer to it as a castle because it reminds me of a castle, or at least a central keep in many respects. Uh, the design is very similar to what I had originally, but I think it has been generally improved. Actually, I think the improvements are, you know, they're pretty standoutish. So, with that said, let's go ahead and take a look. Alrighty, so from the get-go, you can see that approaching the north side of the castle, the north side of Fort Rocket 2, Fortress Rocket. This one is Fortress Rocket. You can see that there's some significant changes. The walls appear to be much more beefy and built up, and that came with the design philosophy that I felt needed to be different for this build. I've incorporated the necessary structures for the facility, for the fortress, into the walls themselves. And we'll go ahead and go through a tour of what I've built so far. Right now, none of the buildings are decorated. There's no beds, no furniture, no nothing yet. There's no stores set up. I've just pretty much laid out the expenses and outlaid the cost to build just the basics. And then after I get the basics done, then I start laying out everything else. I want to remind you before we go ahead and do this tour that everything that you've seen here has been done in survival mode. There was no god moding or anything like that, so every single block here has been purchased in game and blah 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 blah. You know what I'm saying. Anyhow, let's go ahead and get started. I want to start off right now that there is one person living here at Fortress Rocket. That's Seth, my farmer, and he's going to be one of the few civilians that are going to be authorized to live at this location. All right, there's going to be a few metal workers and some other stuff that are going to be in here, and you'll see more of that once I show you what it looks like decorated. But let's go ahead and start over here. So as you see, the very, very different from the look of the Fort Rocket in my other playthrough. It's very cleaned up, much more concise. I used this the Covenant wall build set in order to kind of plug the gap right there. As a result, I'm able to put a very clean looking set of stairs right here that leads right to the front door of the garage. The garage still has a suit of power armor. This one's my T49D. I think I keep the T49 at Red Rocket in my other playthrough. A much more narrower walkout area for the armor. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Covenant wall set and put a little gate like right out here. It's very uneven terrain right here, so it is kind of hard to work with. But don't you worry, I'm going to figure it out. So, yeah, pretty much that's the garage. And let's go ahead and leave that up so she can get back in. And let's go on to the next. Unlike the previous iteration, I don't have a underground base here. I might yet build one, especially once I get this area populated. I have the cabinets left over and the ham radio, just like I had in the previous one. This is my designated bed area, but of course, if I drop a underground bunker here, I'm probably going to sleep underground more than I'm going to sleep in that bed, so I'll probably remove that bed. That scared the shit out of me. Oh man, dude. Okay. Yeah, that's June, and she has her own voice acting, so I've never heard her do that grunt or whatever. Alright, let me go ahead and close this since she's inside. Let's go ahead and take a look at the walls. So continuing back along the walls, you can see we have solar panels here connecting to the switches, controlling the doors. I plan to put more solar panels, or at least 2 more solar panels on this building here. And I'm not going to have a dedicated power facility. Rather, I'm just going to have a few solar panels around, primarily to provide power for the lights and the few defensive turrets that are going to need solar panels, that are going to need electricity. Alright, so this right here is the field house, and the bottom floor is going to be for workshops, and I'm using the Busy Settlers mod, which adds these little workstations where settlers can work, and when they work they produce half as much scrap as a scavenging station and half as many caps as a store. So it's kind of like a good fit for me. I like it, and it definitely gives your dudes something else to do. I recently watched one of Oxhorn's new videos about how exactly stores work, and according to Oxhorn's research, you don't actually receive any benefit aside. You don't receive monetary benefit for any store beyond your first store. So if you're putting more than one store in a settlement, it's because you plan to shop there, because you plan to actually use that store. Otherwise, it's kind of useless. Either that, or once again, you're kind of like a role player like me, and you like to put stores to make it seem realistic. But anyhow, that's as an alternative to that, there's the Busy Settlers mod, which allows these crazy workstations. Let me show you one right now. If you go over here, and you can see we have busy workstations or whatnot. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick just some general busy workstations down here. This right here would be good. And I don't have enough for another one, but I'm going to stick more against the walls. And I'm probably going to stick, I also downloaded Northland Diggers mod. I'm not going to go too much in depth into that because I want to play around with it more and maybe talk to him a little bit. But it's a fantastic mod, and it adds a much more interesting kind of resource production mechanic, I guess. Not interesting, it adds different resource production. But I might stick one of those down here. So, alright, so the second floor of the field house is actually where the civilians are going to sleep. I'm going to equip 5 beds up here, up here, and I'm going to do my best to try to actually assign non-Minutemen personnel into the beds in that building so that they're not wandering all over the place. Alright, oh, let's go back up the wall, sorry about that. Okay, so the next building over is going to be the Fortress's Infirmary. It's relatively in the same place that I had the chem shop in my last playthrough. But this is going to be a fully dedicated infirmary, including a medic, a medical salesperson or whatever, a doctor, so that if I am here and I need healing, I can buy it from them. It's going to have it's going to have a bed for the medic, of course, and then it's going to have 1 or 2 beds for patients. Probably going to put a chem station or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be putting a chem station in here. And then, of course, a few lights and a few decorations, all that jazz. All right, so the wall, once again, I use the shrubbery as a natural wall, and I've tested it over and over. The shrubs do catch bullets. They are a barrier, so let's go ahead and I'll show you that right there. So you can see my bulk gets totally tangled up in there. So yeah, I mean, they do work as effective walls. I don't know why that is outside. That is not where that's supposed to be. This right here is supposed to be Oh, I see what happened. Yeah, I know exactly what happened. Right, well anyways, he's back in the position he needs to be. It's just a guard position. Once again, I use the Covenant wall set for the front gate here, the main gate, etc., etc. Over here we have the granary. This is just going to be storage of food. Right now it is empty except for some random crap. I'm not going to have too much of an extensive growing operation here. I pretty much got some silt beans, so I can support... This location can support 5 of its own people, but the vast majority of its food is going to be coming from Sanctuary Hills, so no big deal. I think I'm going to try to make it completely self-sufficient in terms of water. Alright, so yeah, let's go ahead and go to the next spot along the wall. Alright, that leads upstairs. We're going to take a look at that at the very last. Alright, this right here, this building is incomplete. I seem to have forgotten to finish this one before the tour. That is alright. This is going to be the armory for the Minutemen who are stationed here. And I'm going to store all their excess gear, all their excess laser rifles, laser muskets, whatever they call them. The top area is going to be a living area for the armor, for the blacksmith that makes all their stuff and everything like that. And there's going to even be a third floor right here-ish. And that third floor is going to consist of a guard post and some of these windows here. So yeah. Alright, let's go ahead and go to the last building. And the last building is, of course, the barracks. And I made this one especially big to represent the expanded presence of the Minutemen. Before we go inside, over here is going to be, I'm going to stick a bar and some chairs and stuff like that. And this is going to be the area where the Minutemen hang out and cook and everything like that. It's going to be a private restaurant, etc. Alright, so the Minutemen presence here at this fortress is going to be quite large. It is my northern command center, so it's going to not necessarily focus on the garrison or whatever. There's going to be a command center up there, and we'll talk about that in a second. But they're still going to have at least a platoon worth of soldiers stationed at this barracks to provide security as well as escort detail for me whenever I go out and do something. So let's go ahead and take a look at the inside. Alright, this area is going to be this area is going to be a mudroom and storage area. So maybe they store some of their weapons here. I'm not entirely sure what else will be in here, but I'm sure I'll think of something. Alright, across the way over here, this is going to probably be their mess hall. Yeah, so they'll eat there. Well, they won't really eat there, but you know what I'm saying. In our minds, they'll eat there, and that's all that matters. Okay, so the top, the second floor, this is going to be entirely living quarters. There's going to be 3 beds on this side, and 3 beds on this side. We're going to magically pretend that that cord doesn't exist. And the beds are going to be bunk beds, so the barracks will be able to sleep a total of 24 personnel, so about a platoon size, you know. Ostensibly, each room will house 1 squad. Alright, so we go up here, and there are 2 guard posts here overlooking the road into Sanctuary, as well as the hill and the fields towards Abernathy Farm. There are turrets on the exterior platforms out there. No big deal, no big deal. We come over here, and this middle room is going to be the officer quarters. Probably going to be 1 bed in here, and then like a little tiny office type setup. Once again, no big deal. But this is where all the guards and everybody will hang out and sleep and eat and all that cool jazz. Alright, let's go ahead and go up to the final area, which is of course on top of Red Rocket. I'm really proud of this because I kind of lined it up and did the best I could, at least. This is going to be where the northern command post is going to be headquartered. I'm going to be putting some walls up on here. And inside of this building, there's going to be a scavenging desk, as well as a few of the resource stations from Northland Diggers mod, particularly the tax collection station and the post station, as well as a few terminals for me to access to take a look at what's going on and everything like that, like a settlement management terminals and all that good jazz. It's all going to be up here. So essentially, whenever I come into town, I can come up here, collect a couple of resources, and check out the status of things. And I think that fits exactly what a command post should be doing. In terms of this, the only thing I plan to put up here is I'm going to put a single guard post right up here. And at some point, maybe, yeah, I'll probably also put turrets here and another turret here. But at some point, I'm also going to put a mortar emplacement right here. Alright, well that is my quick tour of the layout of this facility. I'm going to go ahead and continue working on it. And after I'm done and kitted it all out, or at least kitted it partially out, mostly out, you know, when I'm ready to move people in, I'm going to show you one last time what it looks like. And yeah, bear with me.